Hey, welcome to the site.
How you doing?
In case you can't see us, we are those two little dots. Hopefully this waving comes through. We're on site today with Chief Hydrogeologist for HRP, Bob Simmons, and we are here to tell you about a major remediation site that HRP has been working on for the last few years.
We're standing out here in an otherwise nondescript field down in Milford, Connecticut. If you had been out here at pretty much any time over the last 2 years, you would have seen that this is a major remediation site going on here.
We've documented all that work for the last 2 years, and I'm going to show it to you now and tell you about everything that happened out here.
Then I'll chime in.
The site we're looking at here, and we'll be talking about, was developed in the early 1940s originally and expanded over several decades. Electronics equipment manufacturing. Most of the area that we worked in was really undeveloped. The distal end of the property abuts into the wetland areas that you can see as you're going through here. Our client had been brought in by US EPA to perform a time-critical removal action for an area of wood block flooring that had been disposed into this wooded area that we're seeing. So the first step that we undertook was to actually define the area, which required that we clear-cut the known area of this waste deposit. As you can see, the area was surrounded by fencing for security, erosion and sedimentation control consisting of a row of wattles. And we also had a anti-tracking pad installed into the area that we had planned to first investigate and then remediate. You can get some sense of some of the geography of the waste deposit. The flagging was various sample locations, wetlands. What you can see here now are the test pits that were dug to investigate the degree and extent of contamination and the waste deposit. This was the western half of the investigation area. What we're looking at here are the test pits that were installed on a gridded basis to determine the degree and extent of the waste deposits present and allow us to take samples. Following each test pit, the machine was decontaminated. The materials that were taken out of the ground at each you can see are covered with plastic sheeting. And each one is demarcated with the yellow caution tape. Once we completed these investigations with laboratory analytical, we determined the area where the blocks were present and where contaminants associated with the blocks were also present. Now we're starting the actual removal of the materials. You can see there's a lot of construction debris, concrete block, some wood, some metal. All these waste streams had to be segregated from each other for a proper disposal. The different levels you're seeing in the excavation are based on the test pits that were installed, which defined how deep we needed to go at each area and how wide the lateral extent was. Each area was subsequently confirmed with sampling to determine that the soils and waste materials were completely removed. The excavations were extended slightly into the wetland area. This is the laydown area where the materials that were excavated from the waste deposits were individually segregated into various waste streams. The waste characterization could be completed and disposal appropriately arranged for offsite. During this whole operation, we had several air monitoring stations that were set up around the periphery of the work zone, doing monitoring in real time with telemetry that went back to a central station. As we received closure sample results, we either extended the excavation slightly in an additional direction to make sure we got more material, or got each area approved by EPA for closure, where we began backfilling parts of the site while we were still completing excavations in the other areas. Working near the wet areas required us to bring in processed stone in some areas to build the ground up so that we could continue to drive over it. These are stockpiles of material that are awaiting disposal. The yellow unit is a screening device that we had to run a lot of the material through to separate out the various waste streams from the background soils so they could be handled and disposed separately. We're looking now at the site being mostly refilled and regraded, and then it was eventually reseeded, and the conservation mix that was put down took fairly well. At this point, most of the waste materials have been taken off site, and the seeding mix is taking hold of the entire area that was disturbed. We've done several inspections of the areas over the spring and summer. The revegetation process is taking hold very well, and we should be getting a sign-off from EPA fairly soon.
Part of the revegetation process out here was the plantings of several species of grasses and flowers, mostly native to the area as best we could match them, as well as the revegetation that's happening naturally. But this is one of the grasses that we planted here. You can see that I break these up a little bit. There's actually, you can see the seeds. So it's already going through one generation and getting ready to revegetate itself even more.
The years of work on the property have satisfied the requirements of the EPA, and they have increased the overall safety of the property and eliminated the client's liability for this area. The end result of the remediation is an area returning to its natural conditions.